නවපෑ සබන් සහ ක්‍රීම් ජාත්‍යන්තර ළමා රෝග පිළිබඳ විශේෂඥයන් විසින් සායනිකව තහවුරු කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Tonight, free to leave. Grounded Russian aircraft departs Colombo after court lifts ban. Justice Minister vows legal measures against lawyer and court's fiscal officer for abusing powers. To the very end, President says he will not step down until his term ends in 2 years and that he won't stand for a re-election. Disapproved. No green light for the draft 21st Amendment to the Constitution when submitted to Cabinet. More to the market. State-owned Litro Gas received new shipment of domestic gas. Privately owned Laughs continues distribution. All this and much more coming up on this Monday, the 6th of June 2022.
Life boy shampoo chuti rupiah 70යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a warm welcome, bringing you news from across Sri Lanka and around the world tonight on AdaDerana 24 English News. I'm Indivari Amwata. The latest saga surrounding the grounding of a state-owned Russian aircraft at the Bandaranaike International Airport was finally resolved today amid concerns of a diplomatic fallout between Sri Lanka and Russia. Russian Aeroflot Airlines Airbus A330-300 flight SU-289 departed Katunayake this evening after the Commercial High Court of Colombo ordered the immediate suspension of the earlier enjoining order restraining the aircraft since Thursday last week. Colombo's Commercial High Court order came after considering a motion filed by the Attorney General asking that the order resulting in the takeoff ban of the aircraft be made void. The court order came sooner than original hearing date was fixed for the 8th of June after a complaint filed by an Irish-based airline leasing company, Celestial Aviation Trading Limited.
Compounded with Sri Lanka's own economic and political crisis, a legal battle centering a Russian state-owned aircraft ensued in Colombo after an Irish-based airplane leasing company, Celestial Aviation Trading Limited, filed a complaint with the Commercial High Court of Colombo claiming that the Russian-based carrier Aeroflot had defaulted on payments due to the company. Upon an enjoining order issued after the case was taken up by the Colombo Commercial High Court, Russia's Aeroflot aircraft Airbus A330-300 flight SU-289, which was scheduled to depart the Bandaranaike International Airport in Colombo on Thursday the 2nd of June with 191 passengers and 13 crew members, was grounded. The aircraft was restrained at the BIA despite reassurances given by the Civil Aviation Authority on the 7th of March that no Russian aircraft would be arrested or detained in Sri Lanka. Russia immediately sent 2 repatriation flights over the weekend to take home the passengers and crew along with other Russian nationals scheduled to depart Sri Lanka on the 4th and 5th. With diplomatic ties between Russia and Sri Lanka hanging in the balance, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday urged the Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa to expedite the legal proceedings in this regard. As such, the case was taken up today at the Commercial High Court in Colombo. Appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardana told the court that the enjoining order had been obtained by concealing the truth and misleading the court. He questioned as to how the lawyer representing the Irish company had obtained an enjoining order said to be issued against the Katunayake airport and the air traffic controller when the court clearly stated on the 3rd of June last week that the enjoining order had not been issued on the Katunayake airport or the air traffic controller. The Additional Solicitor General said that the attorney representing the Irish company, Aruna De Silva, and the Commercial High Court's fiscal officer had visited the air traffic control room in Katunayake airport and announced that an enjoining order had been issued preventing the departure of the Russian aircraft. He also argued that while the court lacks the authority to issue an enjoining order of this nature, the enjoining order in itself had violated the powers vested on the Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority by Parliament. As such, he requested the Colombo Commercial High Court to suspend the enjoining order. Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardana also presented a CD to court containing 14 pictures depicting the petitioner's counsel Aruna De Silva and the court's fiscal officer entering the air control room on Thursday. Upon hearing these submissions, the judge declared if the allegations levelled by the Solicitor General were true, these will concern an abuse of judicial powers, and went on to say that a lawyer could not act in such a manner. The judge went on to say that the petitioner's counsel had committed a serious offence and that the court could not rule out the matter. With this being the case, the judge immediately suspended the enjoining order today. Following the announcement, the aircraft of the Russian national carrier took off from the Bandaranaike International Airport. Director Operations of Airport and Aviation Services Limited, Shehan Sumanasekaran, confirmed to us that the flight was airborne at 6:22 p.m. after the AASL ushered the crew who was restrained in Sri Lanka since Thursday.
Now, in light of these developments, Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said today that legal measures will be taken against the lawyer and the Commercial High Court's fiscal officer for abusing powers of the judiciary. The Department of Posts also said that postal items to be sent to Russia via airmail will now be accepted as issues pertaining to the Aeroflot flight have been resolved. However, the department said that there may be delays in deliveries. Earlier today, Postmaster General Ranjit Aryaratne said that postal items to Russia via airmail will not be accepted at post offices across the island until the Russian airline matter is resolved. As a result, he said that accepting of airmail articles was temporarily suspended due to the cancellation of flights by the Russian airline.
Speaking to media today, Justice Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said that legal measures will be taken against the fiscal officer and the lawyer that had abused the powers of the judiciary.
රුසියාවේ තානාපතිතුමා සමග මම දීර්ඝ වශයෙන් මේ පිළිබඳව සාකච්ඡා කරලා ඔවුන්ට සිදු අපහසුතාවය පිළිබඳව අපේ රජයේ කනගාටුව ප්‍රකාශ කරලා අපේ මිත්‍රත්වයට කිසිදු හානියක් මෙමගින් ඇති නොවන ලෙසට වග බලා ගැනීම සඳහා අපි එකඟතාවයකට ආවා. මෙම නියෝගය ඒරොෆ්ලොට් සමාගමට එරෙහිව පමණක් ලබා දී තිබියදී අධිකරණයේ පිස්කල් නිලධාරයා සහ නීතිඥවරයෙක් එම ගුවන් යානා පාලනය කරන ප්‍රධාන නිලමෙහෙයුම් මැදිරියේ ඒ නිලධාරයාට යම් කිසි ආකාරයක තර්ජනයක් කරලා තිබෙනවා. ගමන් කිරීම අත්හිටුවේ නැත්නම් ඔහුට එරෙහිව අධිකරණයට අපහාස කිරීමක් යටතේ චෝදනා කරන බවට යම් තර්ජනයක් කරා කියලා අපිට වාර්තා ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ පිළිබඳව නිල වශයෙන් වාර්තා අනුව ඒ අදාළ පිස්කල් වරයාට එරෙහිව සහ එසේ හැසිරුණු නීතිඥවරයාට එරෙහිව අපිට නීතිමය පියවර ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
Several organizations, including National Guidance Lecturers Association, staged a protest in front of the Prime Minister's office in Colombo today, demanding the government to protect diplomatic relations between Russia and Sri Lanka.
Rusianu Sri Lanka!
The delegation then proceeded to the Russian embassy in Bauddhaloka Mawatha, Colombo, and handed over a letter. In the meantime, the Sri Lankan Association of Businessmen and Professionals in Russia had written to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requesting that the President of Sri Lanka apologize to the Russian President for the incident involving the Aeroflot flight. It also called for an investigation to be carried out through the CID into whether there was any conspiracy to jeopardize Sri Lanka-Russia relations.
Now, public transportation was hampered today due to a diesel supply shortage as supplies were limited until a new shipment of the fuel arrives in the country. The next shipment of diesel is expected to arrive on the 16th of June, and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will continue to limit distribution to refueling stations until then in order to manage the existing limited stock.
Once again, Sri Lanka has begun experiencing a shortage of diesel stocks. As a result, commercial vehicles were queued outside refilling stations for long hours in order to secure some fuel to power their vehicles. Some filling stations even remain closed during the day without fuel stocks. According to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the next shipment of diesel is expected to arrive in Sri Lanka on the 16th of June. Until such time, CPC has begun limited distribution of diesel stocks to refilling stations in order to manage the limited stock. However, this issue seemed to have caused a greater impact on the public transportation sector. People were inconvenienced as buses did not operate as usual. Private buses were seen unable to operate without refilling supplies. Recently, President of the Private Bus Owners Association Gamanu Vijayadasa stated that they are unable to provide public transportation service until the government arranges a program to provide them with diesel supplies without interruption.
On the country's domestic gas situation, a 2,000 metric ton shipment of LP gas ordered by the state-owned LPG supplier Litro Gas arrived at the Colombo port this morning. Litro said distribution will commence tomorrow, but urged the public not to wait in queues to purchase cooking gas cylinders. Meanwhile, privately owned supplier Laughs Gas resumed distribution of gas cylinders to the market yesterday after a hiatus of nearly 3 months.
Privately owned liquefied petroleum gas supplier Laughs Gas Company resumed distribution yesterday after a shipment of 3,500 metric tons ordered by the company arrived in Sri Lanka on Saturday. Supplies by Laughs Gas Company, which caters to a share of 30% of the market's customer base, was halted since the 20th of March as the company was unable to source US dollars to bring the LP gas to the country. Laughs also announced an increase in prices of its gas cylinders for the new stocks in distribution. A 12.5 kilogram Laughs gas cylinder is priced at 6,850 rupees and a 5 kilogram cylinder is priced at 2,740 rupees. Laughs Gas today too distributed gas to the market, prioritizing Colombo and its suburbs. People were seen queuing outside Laughs retail sales dealers' outlets today as well to secure a refill to their cylinders after months. Meanwhile, the main supplier, state-owned Litro Gas, said that a shipment of 2,000 metric tons of LP gas arrived at the Colombo port this morning. Unloading of its cargo is already underway. The company previously informed that gas supplies will not be available until Tuesday after they stopped distribution on Saturday. While Litro gas cylinders will once again be available in the market tomorrow, Litro yesterday assured that they had no plans to revise prices to their domestic LP gas cylinders at the moment.
Contrary to expectations, 21A disapproved by Cabinet. Details after this break.
Big 3.
Welcome back to the news. The draft bill of the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, which was submitted to Cabinet this evening, was not given the green light at this evening's Cabinet discussion. The weekly Cabinet meeting was held today under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and during the meeting, the draft bill of the 21st Amendment to the Constitution was presented as expected by Minister of Justice and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. The presented draft bill was said to comprise amendments that were included following the consultation of all political parties during the past few weeks. However, political sources said the bill presented to Cabinet today did not receive its approval, contrary to much expectations. A decision was then made for the bill to be presented to the next Cabinet meeting. Meanwhile, in Parliament tomorrow, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is expected to make a special statement pertaining to the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa vowed to complete the remaining 2 years of his term in office despite months-long protests calling for him to step down. During an interview with Bloomberg today, the president has said that he cannot leave as a failed president and that he has been given a mandate for 5 years. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, however, told Bloomberg that he will not stand for re-election as he focused on fixing a financial mess that tipped Sri Lanka into the worst ever economic crisis the country has encountered. Minister of Urban Development and Housing Prasanna Ranatunga has been sentenced to 2 years rigorous imprisonment, suspended for a period of 5 years by the Colombo High Court in the case filed against him over the Meethotamulla land dispute. The minister was also imposed a fine of 25 million rupees by the Colombo High Court under the condition that failure to pay the fine carries an additional 9 months imprisonment. On May 2016, the Attorney General filed an indictment against Minister Prasanna Ranatunga before the Colombo High Court, accusing him of threatening a businessman in connection with the land in Meethotamulla during his tenure as the Chief Minister of the Western Province. He was accused of threatening a businessman demanding 64 million rupees to evict unauthorized occupants of a land in Meethotamulla and to refill the said land. When the case was taken up today, the spouse of the minister and Naresh Farik, who was named as the third accused in the case, was acquitted from the charges against them. However, the court held the minister Prasanna Ranatunga culpable for his act of threatening and signing promissory notes. The Colombo High Court judge then ordered 2 years rigorous imprisonment, suspended for a period of 5 years on the minister. He was also imposed with a fine of 25 million rupees by the court, with the order that failure to pay the fine carries an additional 9 months imprisonment. In addition, the court further ordered Minister Ranatunga to pay a compensation of 1 million rupees to the businessman and declared that if he fails to pay the compensation, he will be sentenced to another additional 3 months imprisonment. Now, Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Pires says that Indian assistance to procure essential supplies was immense during this tough time Sri Lanka is facing. These comments were made by the minister during a recent meeting with the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, while discussions were also made by both parties pertaining to bilateral engagements and current developments in the country. During the meeting, the High Commissioner of India in Colombo briefed the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister on the current assistance provided to Sri Lanka, including essential items such as food, fuel, fertilizer and pharmaceutical products. Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Pires also stated that Indian assistance amounts to be an immense scale in all sectors such as food and energy security, as well as the provision of pharmaceutical products, and significant support by way of credit lines and swap agreements were deeply appreciated by the government of Sri Lanka at this crucial time. Both parties have also appreciated the pivotal importance of multifaceted relations between the two countries. Welcome back. The Colombo stock market began the week in red today as the all-share price index lost 251.16 points to end trading at 7,803.61. The S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 2,539.06, following a loss of 108.61 points. Share volume was 73 million, while the market turnover was only 1.4 billion rupees. Transportation sector was the highest contributor to market turnover, while the food and beverage sector was the second highest. Foreign purchasers at trading were 57 million rupees during today's trade. Foreign sales, meanwhile, stood at 3 million rupees during market activity. Foreign participation in the meantime was subdued, with foreigners closing as net buyers. Asian markets finished broadly higher today. with shares in Hong Kong leading the region. The Hang Seng is up 2.71, while China's Shanghai Composite is up by 1.28%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index, meanwhile, was 0.56 up for the day, making a two-month closing high. Energy stocks, meanwhile, topped the gainers list as oil prices climbed after Saudi Arabia raised prices sharply for its crude sales in July. Markets in South Korea and New Zealand were shut for holidays today. Australian stocks, meanwhile, ended lower as investors looked ahead to preserve Bank of Australia's policy meeting tomorrow, where the central bank is tipped to raise the cash rate by 250, or rather by 25 to 40 basis points. Well, oil prices topped $120 a barrel in choppy trade today, buoyed by Saudi Arabia raising its July crude prices, but amid doubts that a higher output target for OPEC plus oil producers would ease tight supply. Brent crude was up 64 cents to $120.36 a barrel after touching an intraday high of $121.95. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 63 cents to $119.50 a barrel after hitting a three-month high of $120.99. The price increase followed a decision last week by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies together called OPEC Plus to boost output for July and August by 648,000 barrels per day, or 50% more than previously planned. The increased target was spread across all OPEC Plus members, however, many of which have little room to increase output, and which include Russia, which faces Western sanctions. And that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.